Good morning. Today is Friday, May 25th, 2018, 6:36 a.m. I was woke up this morning about 4 a.m. this morning and it was thunderstorming. The thing I want to talk about is sensing this energy. It was lightning a lot, and what actually woke me up, I could actually feel some of the lightning passing through me. Now, I've never had that happen before, ever. I do think the energy is intensifying. For about the last several weeks, I've been watching a few things here out at one of the parks, and I noticed there's a lot of aluminum light poles out there, and there's, of course, wood, electric poles too. And I've noticed some kind of energy radiating off these poles. And I've been doing some research on it. I'm trying to figure out what exactly this energy is. It's not heat, because even in like the early morning, you can go. It's not, like infrared radiation. I've done several other things. I've looked looking for like radio frequency, like maybe something like the energy from that coming off of it, some kind of microwave energy. It might be. I got watching this one guy that was using a Geiger counter, and that's where I'm going with this next. Down the line, it's another thing I'm planning on getting, because I want to see what's radiating actually from this, because you have to understand that the wood, actually, since the wood's dead, uh, it shouldn't have any energy actually radiating from it, what I understand anyway. The only thing that can change wood, unless you spell something on it and make it something like radioactive, only like a neutron particle. And it makes me wonder. I'm still wondering, about the ultraviolet A, B, and C coming in here too. I think the ultraviolet A, B, and the C is definitely high here. That's just a whole nother thing too. You get to look at this, and there's some people that report, the UVC out there, which is really interesting. There's one gentleman out west does a real good job of it, and a place here in Missouri, there's one person that reports, and it's been running like from like 68 to almost 71 in the C category, which is never even supposed to touch the ground here. And it makes me wonder, how much it would take, it would take to get through like that and to radiate something. Because when I look at these poles, aluminum and copper, I know can disperse energy pretty easily, and in the sense, they make a good electrical contact. Silver is about the best. A lot of people think gold is, but silver actually, I think it's like, if I remember correctly, it's like a 105% for electrical. And then you have to look at the thermal energy on it, which that's what I've been looking at. I've been looking at a lot of different things here. But for the wood to radiate, and the wood poles radiate out from maybe an inch all the way out to maybe 5 inches. Now the aluminum poles do too, but some of them, the wavelengths look different. What I can see now, like I said, I can see like auras around people. And that's got me thinking about things. A lot of people think, well, that's cool and stuff like that. But you also have to look at the science of it too. And if it's like, when they do like the photography where they look at auras. I believe those are like electrons and some, I think are protons, I believe. And it's like a plasma discharge is what you're seeing. Sure, that looks cool, that looks neat, and you can look and you can see people, their personality and all that and everything. But when you're looking at these poles, I just figured that maybe it was just a, slight, some kind of radiation. But then I got thinking, well, what kind of radiation could that be? And I don't know. But anyway, what I was going to say is this one guy, he was showing how to block like certain like beta particles and like aluminum. Well, there's a deal like basically on the beta particles, if you use like lead and you break it, say they're coming through too quickly, the thing of it is you actually get X-ray particles. So like aluminum with the lead can actually kind of disperse it. So, but the thing of it is the lead can actually increase. It can increase, make the X-rays to where you have to have more lead. But also, I learned something too, that I didn't realize that there are certain polymer plastics that can block radiation, certain kinds anyway. And I thought it was showing like alpha particles are the easiest, so they're the biggest, and you could actually use a piece of paper to do that. So what I thought, well, I don't have a Geiger counter, so I thought, well, I'll go out to one of these aluminum poles, and I'll take a piece of paper, cardboard, and I'll put it in between there, and I'll see if I can see this wavelength coming through. Well, I put the piece of cardboard up against the pole. I can still see the wavelength. Okay. Well, then to me that would eliminate the alpha particles if it went on through. But then when I put a piece of plastic, fairly piece of thick plastic up against there, it blocked it. So it makes me wonder now what that could be. I mean, is this beta? Is this gamma? Is it some kind of other neutron particle? Is it an X-ray? I mean, then it comes, and then that's when you're going to need. And a Geiger counter isn't actually going to. It's just going to kind of give you a basic deal because it detects radiation. It's not, Then you have to go to a whole nother deal when you start looking and trying to break all the elements down. So that's what I've been doing here for the last few weeks. I've been looking at this because at the park, it seems like the energy's been getting higher and higher on these poles. Now, the aluminum, like I say, it's radiated pretty strong always, but in the last, like I say, it was probably a couple of weeks back, is when the wood started actually radiating, and then I noticed there's some kind of like big power like lines over there too. And it looks like some of these poles are made out of some kind of galvanized. Now the galvanized, I did not see any energy until, just like I said, until these wood poles start radiating more. But the galvanized now looks like it's radiating out maybe a foot. And it looks like a curtain. It looks like almost, if you could think of it like if you had a white thin curtain, it looks like it's in waves like a curtain. It's what that's how I perceive it. That's what I see anyway of it. So, I don't know. Like I say, so my next move is to try to get a Geiger counter down the line because I want to see, what that would be reading. But I mean, just process of elimination. And I think probably the next thing after that, I mean, I think they call it like a spectrograph. You'd actually have to have one like that, and they're very expensive. But there are some out there that you can actually get that that aren't too bad anyway. But I think that's where this is going to go. But for it to keep radiating at a constant rate, see, I can even see this at night out there. I can see this at night on those poles. Even they're radiating, at almost a constant level. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't see anything else radiating. I mean, what's crazy is like if, from any other kind of lines or objects or cars or anything, I don't really see anything from that. Originally, when I could actually start seeing, like, say, like auras on people, The only time I ever seen this energy was like if I was at the faucet and say I'd been running water, and I turned the faucet off, I could walk away from the sink there and maybe be about 7 or 8 feet away, and it looked like the whole like spigot part of the faucet, I could like had like an energy field around it. And I never gave it much thought. I thought, well, maybe it's like ground. You don't really think about stuff like that because if you've never dealt with it. But then you think, well, is that like some kind, ground radiation? And it didn't happen that often, so I didn't ever really think anything about it. But like I say, in the last about a month and a half, a couple of months here, it started with the aluminum poles. You could actually see that wave of energy being emitted. And then I've had thoughts too. Also, one other thought I had about this too is, are the poles kind of like, think of it like on, say, like a lawnmower engine. And you think about the fins, and you think about how they keep an air-cooled engine cool. Are the poles acting like some kind, since it's, they're huge and they're going into the ground and it's radiating up and they're taking most of the load of, whatever kind of radiation this is, it's coming in, and that's why they're absorbing it more. Maybe it's like, it's trying to cool it off, but I mean, like I said, I don't know. I'm still looking into this and I'm still trying to figure that out. But like I say, 4 o'clock this morning, I could feel like waves of energy from the lightning passing through me. And very different experience to feel that. Lightning, storms never bothered me. I'm kind of the person that likes to watch them. I've seen probably several tornadoes in my life. Doesn't bother me a bit. But definitely, this was something new. To me, it feels like the layers, maybe when it comes to the magnetic field, are even thinner and more is getting through. And like I say, when it comes to the poles here, I just wonder what it could be. I mean, there's, you start looking at radiation, there's massive amounts of different kinds. We've got cosmic radiation. I mean, you can just go on and on and on. And, and to see that everybody, a lot of people need to update their sites because you get in there and you start looking at all these scientifics from, certain colleges. Even I even come across some stuff that NASA had in there and said, well, ultraviolet C, we don't have to worry about it because it never reaches the ground. Well, it's reaching the ground here. And then it says like only like 5% of usually B gets through. Well, now, you have to understand too that if on this ultraviolet C, it only goes up, they look at it like 254 on nanometers. It's like, I think the max is 265. Now, 254 is used for like hospitals where they go in and disinfect like the rooms, and they'll leave it, like a machine in there for 15 or 20 minutes, and it will, pretty much kill any kind of bacteria, anything biological in the room as long as it's visible and the light can hit it. So, I mean, I don't know. You have to understand if we're being bombarded by this sea like that, and for a constant period, even though it's not, in the range of 100 or 254, and it's coming through, who knows what kind of damage that's doing. I mean, gamma radiation will damage DNA structure like in 2 different parts, where this C, it's, to me, what I understand the way it works, it just basically, stops. It's almost kind of like, in a way, if you want to think about it, almost kind of like, for your immune system, like say if a person didn't have an immune system, it will just stop it. It damages the DNA at that kind of level to where then it can't reproduce. So, I don't know. I know our skin, supposedly, it says what data I've read on some of it will protect us somewhat, but I don't, I would think probably anybody that would have any kind of data on that would be like NASA. For anybody who would be like anybody would be like in a shuttle or like say like like the space station up there, like, because what else who's going to have that data? And I mean, they were the only have the ones that had to think about that because they're out there, you know, and there's no field to protect them. I think, what is it? Is it 400 kilometers up? I believe is what it's at. It can't go above 700 because of the radiation, I believe, and like they picked 400 because anything lower could drop out of orbit. So I don't know. Just a little bit of thought here about everything. I would definitely this weekend, guys. I'd use some sunscreen. Try to stay in the shade. Have a good one.